Oh, watch this. This is actually amazing.
It's shocking to all of us, devastating to the families. 50 to 100-year sentences. Those are essentially...
So this is what happened. So a bunch of anti-ICE rioters tried to shoot at a police officer, and the government put all of them in jail for 50 to 100 years. They actually did the thing that I said they should be doing, and they should have been doing for the entire time.
It's shocking to all of us, devastating to the families. 50 to 100-year sentences.
That's right.
Those are essentially life sentences for all of the young people in this case.
Should be glad they're not being executed publicly, because if it was up to me, that's what would be happening.
Largely of whom were engaged in nonviolent protest at an ICE detention facility.
Mm-hmm.
How did we get here? So the government in this case...
Well, we got here because they were committing crimes and causing problems, and then after that, people found out about it, they shot at a police officer, and then all of the people involved got arrested and charged for terrorist conspiracy.
Sought a novel, first time that this has happened, use of a rarely used statute, the provision of material support to terrorists.
Please let this only be the beginning. Material support to terrorists. We have to start doing this more. We have to do this more.
And that has not been used in the purely domestic context for this kind of conduct.
I know, and that's the problem. We need to be doing it way more.
That statute also does not require any connection to a domestic terrorist organization,
yes,
or any kind of a domestic terrorist organization.
Correct.
When the government sought prosecution under this statute, they sought to seek a very dangerous precedent.
The dangerous I want there to be a dangerous precedent. To feel terrified for supporting any of this violence towards ICE, towards supporting Hamas, or anything else.
Any American can be targeted that
Thank
way
God.
now. It does not require ties to Antifa or to any domestic terrorist organization. It just requires one of these underlying statutes. That's a dangerous precedent.
For you.
And what allowed them to stack these charges so high on Tuesday. On Tuesday, what happened is...
Remember what I told you guys? We always had the laws. The only thing we didn't have is the willpower to use them. We always had this. We always could have done this.
Federal sentencing, people were anticipating maximum sentences of 20 years, maybe 30 years. The way they reached this sentence is the judge used this very rarely used and the most extreme federal sentencing guideline called the terrorism enhancement to inflict maximum sentences on every count of conviction for these defendants, and then abused his discretion to do something that is very rarely done in cases like this. He ordered each sentence to be served consecutively.
That's right. So you don't get to do all of them at the same time for some bullshit. That's right. You are going to jail for the rest of your life. It's over.
Not concurrently. So
that means, like, yeah, duh. By the way, what the fuck? How can you serve two sentences at the same time? It doesn't even make sense. Like, what do you mean you're in jail? Like, if you go to jail, like, if you get sentenced to 10 years... and then 10 additional years, the intent of that is that you serve 20 years. So if you serve 10 years at that's like saying, well, why can't they just serve 4 consecutive sentences of 5 years? The logic here doesn't exist.
Each sentence is served consecutively, resulting in sentences for 50 to 100 years in these cases. That terrorism enhancement that I mentioned only requires that the offense is calculated to influence or affect the conduct of government through intimidation or retaliation.
Do you guys see how broad this is? Do you guys see what the future could be if we had the political willpower to just go after these parasites in the way that we should? We could completely destroy all of their lives. We could put all of them in jail. We could sentence them to life sentences concurrently. And we could completely destroy them and even go after their families too. The rules were always there. We just didn't have the willpower to use them. And now, finally, there's at least one judge out there that's willing to give these people what they deserve.
That's a very, very broad, has a very broad application, and the government in past
families too. Oh yeah, I'm all in on. Once one family member is committing terrorism, I think we need to deport the whole family, because we can't be sure who's right and who's wrong in those circumstances. We can't take that risk.
Years has sought that in a lot of these prosecutions that people don't pay a lot of attention to, and so now it's very broadly applied.
It should be.
Seeking it in this case meant that the guidelines,
yes.
This sort of federal sentencing structure that's supposed to...
This is always what fat hog retarded Karens like to do, is they like to make these appeals to, bureaucratic protocol, to some form of chain of events, because they can't think dynamically. They can't think about what the right thing to do is. They can only think in terms of the maze that's been created in order for them to exist. They're like rats.
Tailor a sentence to each defendant. My client, for example, a young mother to a 12-year-old daughter, an artist, a poet, never been in trouble with the law, never even missed a parking ticket.
Wow. And she ruined her entire life. That's sad. Maybe you shouldn't do that then. You see, they don't see it the way that I see it. They see the idea that, one mistake can ruin your life as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing, because it shows an example. It shows these people that this is what happens if you behave this way. If you fuck around, you're going to find out. Shouldn't have done it.
The sentences are supposed to account for all of these unique situations. The fact, that she has no criminal history. But the terrorism enhancement undoes all of that. It recommends...
Thank God.
...a maximum sentence on every charge for every defendant. That's how
Do you see? This always existed. Every single instance of these freaks getting let out is because the judges didn't use it. I've always said that I don't want new laws. I just want the existing laws to be applied. That's all. And these are the existing laws.
It's because it automatically designates them as a career offender.
That's right.
It's particularly abusive in this case, though.
I want to abuse them. I want it to be so bad that it scares everybody else.
Because it results in a significantly unwarranted sentencing disparity in the United States amongst defendants that have been convicted of similar conduct.
Yeah.
Now, in these kinds of cases where the government is bringing a novel charge under a rarely used statute and terrorism.
So the problem is that it's rarely used and it's novel. She keeps referring to that. I think I understand what the solution to your problem is. Let's do it more often, and that way it won't be as rare and novel so people can get used to it. If that's really the problem, I think we should do it a lot more. This seems like a great idea.
You may only have a couple or a handful of cases that are relevant to kind of distinguish your client or show where the expected range should be. But in this case, we actually had 1,500 plus very recent federal prosecutions related to similar conduct.
It sounds like we need 1,500 plus retrials with this terrorism thing as well. Can you imagine that we have 1,500 plus of these animals walking around? We're just letting these animals run wild in our country? How could we possibly allow this to happen? These people tried to ambush an ICE, they tried to lure him out and snipe at him and shot an immigrant inside? Oh, I know. I know what they did. They're literal domestic terrorists.
That should have informed what these sentences should have looked like. And that was of the January 6 defendants. The January 6 defendants were involved in rioting, carrying massive arsenals of weapons, lots of discussions ahead of...
Who cares about January 6th? I don't give a fuck. Nobody cares anymore. It happened 5 years ago. Get over it. Stop fucking around with ICE. Stop getting in the way. Stop being violent. And if you don't, then yeah, I think we should crush them with these terrorism charges. And there's another big component to this too, that this is how you inflict maximum damage, is you have to view any revenue or assets they had. If they were helping or providing any financial assistance, you need to seize all of their assets as well, so it negatively affects the families. Because if these people are, if they're providing material support to terrorists, all of this money theoretically could have been linked to terrorism. So we should be reclaiming and taking all of their money, all of their assets, and everything that they have. That's what they should do. The logic's solid, exactly. I want it all seized, yes. Reparations, definitely. Isn't that what the Patriot Act does? I don't know. I mean, I hope so.
Time that didn't exist in this case about targeting law enforcement.
Why do we have to accommodate these aliens? They're our guests. Oh, I don't think we should.
Wanting to kill members of Congress, them actually storming the Capitol.
Nobody cares.
And it resulted in injury of 140 officers in that case. The government in that case could have sought prosecution under this same material support of terrorism statute. They didn't for those defendants. And they could have sought the terrorism enhancement in those cases because it applied.
They're trying to do this, oh, well, we didn't do that to you, so it's okay. No, we're going to do it as much as we can. I think we should do it as much as we can. Maybe Biden should have.
I told you that vague, calculated to influence or affect the conduct of government could have applied it in all of those prosecutions.
Maybe they could have.
It's only sought them in a small handful. And where they sought the terrorism enhancement, the courts then rightly decided not to apply it in the vast majority of the small selection of cases where they sought it, because they said it was overkill, not representative, and would
well, I want to overkill. That's the whole point. That's duh.
Result in unwarranted sentencing disparity.
Oh my God.
The average sentence in the Capitol riots, which had far more serious conduct than the Prairie Line 9 defendants.
How is it more serious whenever they lured an ICE officer out and they literally killed somebody in a premeditated murder? The only person that died in January 6th, wasn't it one of the protesters? I don't think any cop died in January 6th. Was a cop killed during January 6th? From a heart attack. Okay, I don't really think that counts, right? It's not the same as shooting somebody in the head.
Was 26 months. So we have a massive unwarranted sentencing disparity here. What happened in the court in Fort Worth was unconstitutional and should concern everybody.
I have no interest in hearing about my constitution from a foreigner who should not even be in my country. If you think that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington would even allow you on the TV to talk about this in the first place, you're out of your fucking mind.
In this country, in the direction that it is taking us.
Yeah, not your country, this country, my country. Go home. Go home, get the fuck out. That's what I think. Look fat. Yeah, this is you for or against America. State your position. Yeah, this is it. And I'm very... And look how scared they are. Look how terrified they are that this is happening. They conspired and attempted to kill a federal officer. They were found guilty by 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. And not to mention the fact that a bunch of the defendants literally admitted that it was an Antifa terror cell that was planning on killing the cops and pleading them guilty. Like, if it was up to me, as I said, these people would be tortured in Guantanamo Bay in order to get the names of every single other conspirer that was involved with this. Then after that, they'd be publicly executed in front of everybody. And if I couldn't do that, I'd force them to work as ICE agents. And if they didn't want to do the job, then I would do it. I'd put shock collars on them. Like the Death March in Warhammer 40K. That's what I want to do. That's what I would think about the most insane, brutal, psychotic thing possible, and I'd do that. Because that's the way you have to treat these people. They're animals. They're violent, aggressive, vicious, dangerous animals. And the more that you don't, hold them accountable for that, the worse that they're going to get. Soon, brother, I hope so. African warlord politics? Well, sometimes whenever you're dealing with people that are savages, sometimes you need a Joseph Kony. Sometimes you do. You can call it whatever you want. I'm telling you, that's what I do. And if I have a candidate that I can vote for that will do that or worse, that's my guy. I don't give a fuck what you call it. Doesn't matter. Look at how terrified and scared and solemn and just like defeated these people are the moment that you apply consequences for them. This is how easy it is. You can literally just do this. And the government has refused to do this for years, and they've allowed things to get worse for no reason. This is what you can do to these retarded hogs. This has created deterrence, exactly. There's no empathy left in the world. I actually think that, so this is another component. I'll talk about this. I actually think that I have more empathy than any of these other people. Because I don't want to live in a country where you have to be afraid to do your job, where being a law officer means that you have to put yourself in harm's way. And I always look at everything from the perspective of who's trying to do a good thing and who's trying to do a bad thing. When you try to kill somebody that's a federal officer, you're trying to do a bad thing and you're trying to hurt someone. So your interests and your desires and your well-being are not important to me. What is important is the people that are trying to be good contributing members of society that are trying to make the world a better place. And the moment that you place and prioritize the needs of bad actors above the needs of good actors, it's the moment that you have a society that's dominated by bad actors. And so when I think about how can I make the world a better place, the best way to make the world a better place is to get rid of the bad people. And so from my perspective, getting rid of these people is a net positive. And I think actually the degree of extremity in which they're removed is the higher it is, the better it is. Basically, the more extreme, the more brutal, the more savage, the better it is, because that's going to get more people to leave. That's going to get more people to be afraid of that. Isn't putting yourself in jobs harm's way? Your point is they shouldn't be put in more harm than necessary? Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, isn't putting yourself in harm's way the job of a cop? Isn't their jobs protected from dangerous people? Yeah, but the dangerous people should feel like, they should feel like if you engage in something that's violent or dangerous in society, that you shouldn't expect to live. And I think that would be good. I think I would prefer that. It's an intentional misunderstanding. Yes, definitely. Make it a punishment. I would say so. Do you believe that bad people can be changed into good people? I don't care. I don't really give a shit. That doesn't matter to me. So you're thinking about what they're doing. Like, I'm thinking about every other person that's a victim. What is the cost of you being wrong? The cost of you being wrong is lifelong trauma, death, entire families that are traumatized as well. So when the cost of you being wrong is that high, but you never have to undertake that cost, you think that you're being a good person by giving a person a chance to rehabilitate. I think that there are instances, like, I don't think every punishment should be death, right? Obviously. But a lot more of them should be than we have right now. So I think that rehabilitation's possible, but it should not be the focus. The focus around putting people in jail isn't about rehabilitating them. It's about protecting the public. The goal is to protect the public, not to do anything else. Laws don't prevent crime. Laws establish a pattern of action. What prevents crime is someone's ethics or morals and fear of the punishment. Exactly. Yeah, removing them from society. Exactly. So you have to remove the people from society. And if you don't do that, then you're going to make everybody else, you're going to put everybody else at risk. And I think that that is a immoral and an unethical thing to do. And I think that, appealing to a higher desire of rehabilitation or something like that is just simply not acceptable. I don't agree with that. Absolutely, having mercy for those that have committed crimes and letting them off on light sentences only leads to cruel. unusual people for law-abiding citizens. Exactly. Jail should be about punishment and rehabilitation. I don't care about jail. Jail is not the point. The point is protecting the rest of society. So, like, that's an afterthought to me. The main priority that I have with any of this is how can I make the people that are already here more safe and not have to worry about their own well-being. That's really what matters the most. What happens to them is not, it's not relevant to me.